You're most welcome to our free online school, SkillBridge Institute. We'll be discussing about cost estimation methods and budgeting basics. Cost estimation simply means predicting the total cost of your project. The importance, number one, you'll be able to secure funding if you properly estimate the cost of your project. Number two, there will be efficiency in terms of resource usage. 3, it will prevent running out of your budget. Let's discuss cost estimation methods. Number one, it is known as analogous estimating. Here it's where you're trying to use the past data, which is similar to the project which you are doing right now. This one, it is less accurate because you find that the cost of things in the past were a bit cheaper than the cost of things at that moment. Method number 2 is known as parametric. Here it is where you're trying to use statistical models basing on the numbers on the data which you have. So an example on that one, it is where you want to build units or houses. So let's say each house costs $5,000 and you want to build 20 of them. For you to find the total cost or to estimate the total cost, that means you simply say 5,000 multiplied by 20 and it is going to give you $100,000. The third one, it's known as bottom-up estimating. Here it is where you break down the whole of your project into small tasks and each task will be assigned a budget. So this one, we need to know that it is more accurate because you are focusing on the tasks, but it is time intensive. Number 4 is 3-point estimating. Here it's where you're trying to use optimistic cost. That means if your project will not find any challenges, what can be the possible cost? Then number 2, you are using pessimistic cost. That is where you are saying if our project is going to face heavy challenges, what can be the possible cost? And number 3, you are using most likely cost, where you're saying if our project will just be running normally, we'll be finding some challenges and at the same time it will just be going smoothly, so that is normal. So what can be the possible cost? So you are focusing on a formula which is saying optimistic plus 4 multiplied by most likely cost plus pessimistic cost, the whole of it divided by 6. An example where we are saying that the optimistic cost is $5,000 and the most likely cost is $6,000 and the pessimistic cost is $8,000. So what will be the cost of that project? That means we are going to say 5,000 plus 4 multiplied by 6,000 plus 8,000. The whole of it you divide by 6 and the answer that you're going to find is $6,166.67. So that is the cost using 3-point estimating. Number 5, it's where you are trying to use expert judgment. So here it is when you have got less data or you don't have enough data for you to estimate the cost of that project. So here you call somebody who is a professional, who has got experience, to just look at your project and say, based on this project, I guess the amount of money that will be needed here is so much. This one, it is less reliable because you are not using any data, you are just trying to guess. If we're talking over budgeting, this is where you're trying to allocate resources to cover all your project costs. A characteristic of budgeting, number one, it is supposed to cover all the direct cost and the indirect cost. So if we're talking of direct cost, let's say you are building a house, direct cost might be buying cement, things like buying timbers and the like. Indirect cost may be things like buying papers which are going to be used in your office, or buying internet bundle which is going to be used in the office. From there, it should be very realistic. It should be something that you can be able to achieve. Have that capacity of flexibility. So if there is need for any change, be very flexible. Steps in creating budget. Cover all the direct and the indirect costs. Use any of them cost estimation method. Add a contingency of 5 to 10% on your budget. So let's say your budget is $100,000. That means you need to calculate any amount that is 5% to 10%, and that amount should be added to that $100,000. Then you need to allocate the resources in all the tasks of that project. Then as your project is running, you should be able to monitor how you're spending your budget, and you should be adjusting if those adjustments will be needed. Best practices as well as common mistakes in budgeting. If we're talking of best practices, you should involve all the stakeholders so that your budget should be accurate. Use the tracking tools when you are spending your budget, like Trello and Microsoft Project. Make sure that you are reviewing your budget regularly and make updates or changes if those changes are needed. Ensure that there is transparency in the way how you're spending your budget. So the team members, the stakeholders must be aware on how you're spending the budget. You should plan for contingency in case you're going to run out of some materials within your project as your project is running. What are you going to do? So you need to plan for such kind of things. Common mistakes. Here it is where you're trying to underestimate the cost. So let's say the budget was supposed to be $100,000, but you have underestimated it and you have put it at $80,000. So that is, you are underestimating it. This one can come when you try to ignore indirect cost. For example, in your office as a project manager, you need Wi-Fi, but you haven't put it on your budget. So that is where you're trying to undermine the indirect expenses. Another mistake, it is where you try to fail to update your budget, but you find that your budget has changed, but in your system you haven't updated it. So that one can quote you at some point. The last one, it is where you're trying to overestimate, and that one may lead to tied up funds. So your budget is $100,000, but you have overestimated it and you have put it at $150,000. And by the end of the day, you find that you have finished your project and you have just spent $100,000, and there is a tied up fund of $50,000. So that is not good as a project manager. Make sure that your predictions or your estimations are very realistic. Thank you so much. See you in the next lesson. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like this video.